Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, listeners from coast to coast, pole to pole, and worldwide. This is the Hagmann Hagmann Report for today. It is Monday, March 2nd, 2015. I'm Doug Hagmann, flying solo tonight, live from Orlando, Florida. I want to welcome everyone to our program this evening. This is the Hagmann Hagmann Report, where we broadcast live each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Our home base, of course, is HagmannHagmann.com. Flying solo tonight. Joe and I are actually in two different cities. I'm in Orlando. Joe is actually in a different city on his way to Orlando, even though he left earlier than I did. We're having some, not issues, but we're doing a couple of things that need to be done business-wise to prepare. Ultimately, to prepare for the time when this show will not be on the air, when other shows like it won't be on the air. And we have to, at this point, folks, we have to really realize that things are critical. If America was a hospital patient, I believe that the status of that patient would be in critical condition. Now, tonight's program is going to be focusing a lot on news, heavy on news and the analysis of what's taking place right now. Not necessarily, folks, what you are hearing about, but what you're not hearing about, because that's really the issue. And I hope my microphone is all right. Now, I don't have the chat running only because, folks, I cannot control the chat room. If you want to chat, there's a feature at the Hagmann and HagmannReport.com. We don't have anything to do with it. We don't moderate it. And of course, you're going to get the same people over and over again, putting in the same links to different things, tiresome, loathsome links, and that's that's what they do. But I don't have the time or the ability at this point to monitor the chat room. So for the people who really get a lot out of it, I apologize. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you can, if you have any issues with respect to sound, let me know. I do have a board here, a mini board where I can tweak some things a little bit. So if you want to let me know how it sounds via email, quick email at HagmannandHagmann.com, just simply go to the Contact Us page and fire off an email. As the program unfolds tonight, we're going to be taking care of some business here the first 30 minutes, and then at the bottom of this hour, our good friend Dave Daubenmire, Coach Dave Daubenmire, will be calling in. He's on the ground in Pensacola, Florida. You see, folks, the Kent Hovind trial. You see, we do as much as possible in the field. We do as much as possible to really bring about information that's unavailable elsewhere, to talk about it on the air. I'm not sure, and I'll ask Coach Dave Daubenmire this when he calls in, whether there are any other alternative media outlets covering this trial. It should be interesting to find out. But that's one of the issues that we really need to talk about, because, folks, this is going to be us someday. Not necessarily for the same reasons, although I do suspect some will be for those very same reasons. But most of us, it's going to be for dissent, political dissent against the government, thought crimes. That's what's coming. So, anyway, very important to keep our eyes on. Now, I have my own, and I'm not going to talk any more about this until, of course, until Dave calls in. But I do have my own thoughts about how that trial is going to go and what the results are going to be. Ray, thank you. Ray P., thank you so much for your report. Got it, and I'm glad it does sound good. because we've been trying to tweak things, and just so folks that in case you're unaware of this, Joe and I have been honored to speak at the Prophecy in the News Summit in Orlando, Florida. It begins on Thursday. It runs Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We are scheduled now, I believe, for 8 o'clock Saturday night, and also we have a round table for Friday morning. I just want to say how honored we are to be asked to speak, and man, I'll tell you, it's incredible. And David M., thank you from Kansas. Thank you so much from David M. in Kansas for letting me know about the sound. Anyway, just to let you know, kind of a funny story. There is an 80 degree temperature difference. Now, you know what? Strike that. A 65 degree temperature difference. And that's erring on the conservative side between where we left our home base in northwest Pennsylvania to Orlando, Florida. We left on Saturday. And I just want to tell you a real quick funny story because, people think, wow, you're in Orlando, it's beautiful. And it is, it's gorgeous. But, Satan's at work here in a big way. My wife and I are traveling together, and we're also traveling with our 8-month-old Aussie Shepherd / cattle dog. Well, the most well-behaved dog that next to King, our iconic German Shepherd, that just such a well-behaved dog. I'm very proud of her. But anyway, so we were planning on leaving early Saturday morning and driving, taking 2 days to drive. Why? Because we're old, okay, and we don't do the 24-hour drives anymore. Well, I was home. I had brought all of the gear from the studio, the sound equipment, everything. Packed up our vehicle. Friday night, actually, after the show, and we were going to leave about 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. And the vehicle was in our garage until after it was packed up and everything. We had it in the garage. So Saturday morning, I woke up and I heard in my home, I heard this like a motor running, and I couldn't figure out what it was. Now, temperatures have been extremely cold, obviously, like everywhere in the world, or at least in North America. So I traced this motor, this humming motor, to our sump pump in our basement. Now, folks, how many of you have sump pumps? Quite a few, I'm sure, especially if you live out in a rural setting. So, come to find out, the sump pump was the drain for the pump, which extends pretty far out on our property. There was a frozen part of the line, and the motor on the pump was just running and running and running, and it was essentially burning itself up. Friday, we had an issue with that Friday, and Joe, supposedly fixed that. Well, it continued into Saturday, unbeknownst to me. So that set us back. I had to fix that, and that set us back 2 hours. So once we get ready, we get everything ready, we get in the car, and picture this. I felt like the Griswolds on Vacation, one of those vacation movies, minus the truckster and the kids. Hit the garage door opener. Now picture this. We're all in our vehicle. We're headed to, ready to leave the garage. Hit the garage door opener, and nothing. So I figured, okay, there's something wrong with the garage door opener. So what I would do is manually open the garage. So I pulled the lever, that guys, you know what I'm talking about, the red lever that hangs it down. I pulled the red lever, and it disengaged the garage door opener. But as it did, because of the ice, snow, and cold temperatures, I heard this. I thought it was like a bullet being shot into the garage. It broke the spring and took it right through exactly where a piece of shrapnel from the spring took it right through exactly where the slide is on the wheels for the garage door. So essentially what happened was it would be much like, it rendered our door inoperable, basically. So after all this, I had to call the garage door guy, and we were talking, and he said, "What happened?" Anyway, he came to look at it, and he says, this is really like 1 in a million shot. That you could not have planned this better. And these were his words. He said, "It's almost as if Satan doesn't want you to leave." And I said, "Are you a Christian?" He said, "Yeah, I'm a Christian." And he had no clue where we were going or what we were doing. But it was almost as if the devil didn't want us to leave our garage. I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. So anyway, he was able to essentially disassemble our garage door and let us out. And then we had and in fact, he was so impressed by the way he was so impressed by what happened, the 1 in a million shot, where this piece of shrapnel just really took it. I mean, it went right through the rail like an inch away from the roller, so it created this roadblock. So anyway, he was so impressed by that, he came on the following day, Sunday, and fixed the door, or at least that's what our house sitter is saying. Now it works, so that's pretty cool. So anyway, now we're, I think, about 4.5, 5 hours late, and we decided to, instead of stopping where we were going to stop, we decided to stop probably about 2 hours earlier, 3 hours earlier. So we only traveled the first day, maybe half of what we planned on traveling, stopping, and then because it was a rough day. And so we stopped there. Now, the other thing that happened was, as we were getting our gear from into the hotel room, and I was going to work on our presentation, Joe and I's presentation, in the hotel room where we stayed at. Well, and I'm very, very careful with my equipment. Very careful. Extremely careful. When we were removing the equipment from our vehicle, the zipper on my laptop bag had split just right. And the laptop, the way I had this rigged was the memory stick. I left it in there, because the memory stick contained a lot of the images and the documentation that we were going to use on Saturday. When the zipper split, the laptop fell out of the bag, landed exactly, I mean, you could not have planned it any better, landed right on the memory stick, split the memory stick in half, and rendered it inoperable. So now I've got a laptop, which is fine, except I've got some issues with the motherboard that I can fix. But when I actually took a picture with my wife's phone, and when I showed that picture of the memory stick to our IT guy, he said, "I've never seen a memory stick break like that." And he said Man, that had to be a 1 in a million shot. I'm thinking, holy moly, we're under, we're under complete demonic attack. And there were about 4 or 5 other things that happened as well on the way down here. So we didn't get into Orlando until very, very late last night, early this morning. And but anyway, the temperature difference is about 65 degrees. And I'm going to tell you, for those who are coming to the conference, I'm going to just tell you, you're in for a treat. The Hyatt Regency is just a beautiful hotel. It's incredible. Certainly, I didn't get any chance. I did not have the chance to look around or enjoying the facilities. I was working in the room pretty much all day on the presentation, having people email information, the information that was contained on the memory stick and such. So the bottom line is everything is still on, but to see Satan at work, and I believe that's exactly what this is Satan at work. Now you might think, well, this is, it could happen to anybody, but just for these very precise things to happen just exactly as they happen. And I got a few people asking, well, how's the puppy doing? I should tell you this. I got to tell you this. The half Aussie Shepherd, half cattle dog, or Aussie Shepherd cattle dog, very intelligent, 8 months old next month. What a joy she is. Without her and my wife, I don't think I'd be sane in this trip. But I'll say that the Hyatt Regency is huge. And the room numbers, and I've never really, even in Las Vegas, when you travel to Las Vegas, you know how the room numbers are like really long. Our room number is 5 digits. And it doesn't, the beginning of the number, without giving away too much, it to me it doesn't make too much sense in terms of the room number. So I grabbed, it was late last night, early this morning, late or whatever you want to call it. It was drizzly, kind of foggy. So I decided, my dog, we're going to take a walk, and we did. We took a walk, and we came back, and I've got my motel room key, no cell phone, just my motel room key and the dog. And I'm thinking, oh, my goodness. This hotel's so big, what room am I in? I forgot my room number. And it's not on the key. So I train my puppy to, when we get in the elevator, she sits. As soon as the doors open, she'll walk in and she'll sit down, facing the elevator doors. This is very cute. She'll get off the elevator and she'll walk directly to the room, go to the door, and sit while I, reach for my key and wave it in front of the magical lock, so to speak. So I knew the floor we were on, but I didn't know the room, and it was, again, early this morning, and I didn't want to, we're talking about 1 o'clock in the morning, I wasn't going to knock on doors, but I figured I had, narrowed down to, a half a dozen rooms, anyway, on the wing I was in. I'm in. Wouldn't you know it, my dog, walks directly to the room that she was in for only 3, 4, 5 minutes and sits right at the door. Not the room to my right, not the room to my left, not 6 rooms down, but she sat right at the door. I waved the key over this futuristic kind of barcode reader or whatever those readers are. Bang. Open the door. I thought, wow, what a lifesaver. So what a joy it is to travel with our studio dog. And I just want to give a shout out to my wife who's listening. What a joy it is to be traveling with my wife who's been nothing but a help to me, to us. And just to say how fortunate that I feel having listeners like yourself, family. It's just, I feel very fortunate and very honored, too. Folks, this conference is going to be the fellowship in this conference is going to be incredible. You're going to be those people attending, you're going to be rubbing elbows with some of the finest biblical expositors, biblical prophecy experts there are. Paul McGuire, Russ Dizdar, and others. For those people who weren't coming, and this is what I had worked this out with the coordinators of the conference, there are a lot of people, whether you could be in Florida and because of your job situation not be able to work, or be in Kansas, or be in New Mexico, or wherever you might be listening to this program from, and you're not able to come. And maybe the DVDs are, when they come out, maybe you might not be able to afford the DVDs or the live streaming or whatever. So here's what I decided to do. For those of you who are unable to attend this conference, I don't know if this will help you or not. I'm going to toss this out there. I wish everyone can be here because of the minds that are going to talk. But for those of you who cannot afford to be here, can't be here for whatever circumstance, here's what I'm offering to do for you folks. And I've let most of the speakers know at this point. They'll all know on Thursday. If you have a question for a specific speaker, and here's what I'll do. I'll even take 2 questions. Up to 2 questions for any speaker that you want to ask a question to. If you go to HagmannHagmann.com, scroll down to when you see Prophecy in the News Conference, that icon there, click on that. There you'll see a list of speakers, presenters. If you go to our website, HagmannHagmann.com, to accommodate you who cannot be here for the conference, but want to. I understand that. I understand. I get it. But if you've got a question, and I mean a legitimate question, if you could sit down, let's say with Jonathan Cahn, or with Russ Dizdar, or Paul McGuire, or just pick anybody out of that, Jerome Corsi, Joe Farrow. If you can pick out, or if you could sit down with any one of the presenters and ask that presenter a question, what would it be? If you go to HagmannHagmann.com, click on the Contact Us, put that question down in writing, type out the question, and give it some thought. In the subject line of the email, just put conference question. You don't have to identify the guest in the subject line, but in the body of the email, let me know the person, the presenter that you'd like to ask the question to, and the question itself. I will personally ask that question on your behalf. I don't care if we get 50 questions or 500 questions for a presenter. Chances are some will be pretty much the same or of the same type of, very close to being the same. I will ask that person your question. Depending on the volume, if I can't give you your answer directly in terms of, in other words, type out the answer myself, I will give that answer over the air. That's the best I can do. I think that's pretty good. I will take your questions while here in Orlando, print them out, and we will ask the questions of the speakers. We might get 5,000 questions. I mean, I don't know, or we might get 10. But I mean, if we're overloaded, we've got 3 days. We're pretty good at, we're pretty big guys. I could grab, Russ and I could wrestle. No. I'm sure they'll entertain your questions. So the deal is this. If you can't make it to the conference, send me your question in the subject line. Please title it Conference Question in the body of the email. This is using, by the way, the contact form. Contact us at hagmannhagmann.com. In the body of the email, let me know who the person is that you'd like us to ask the question to. Ask your question as succinctly as possible. And go ahead and ask two. I mean, if you have one just for example, if you want to ask Jonathan Kahn a question, and you want to ask Russ Distar a question, you can put in the same email both questions. But I've got on each presenter, because we're going to be doing the interviews. Joe and I are going to be doing the interviews for the DVD set. We've got files, individual files on each presenter. So I will print those out. I will review them, put like questions together, put them in the file. And I will be sure to ask them the questions, get the answer, and either reply back to you directly via email or on air, or even perhaps both. But this, because I know, folks, I know how important it is. I know how late the hour is, and I was really thinking very hard, thinking, what's the best way I can help the people who can't make it here? What's the one thing? Is there something I can do for those people who can't make it here, who can't watch the live streaming and perhaps can't wait or afford the DVD? What's the best thing I can do? And that's what we came up with. So, hey, at least we're trying. If you like it, great. If not, well, sorry about that. Doing our best. Hopefully you'll think that's pretty cool. Just send your question to studio at hagmannhagmann.com, or go to hagmannhagmann.com, click on the Contact Us. In the subject line, put Conference Question. Make sure you identify the speaker or speakers, up to two, no more, please. Very succinctly fire off the email. Make it before Thursday. So this is Monday. You're looking at all day Tuesday. And if you get it into me by Wednesday showtime, and I know some people are listening to this by archive, but that'll help me print this here from our home base, new home base at the hotel, get it in the folders, review them, get in the folders. And if we get, like I said, 50 or even 5,000, it gives us a jump on things. And every question is important to us. Please understand that. Every question is extremely important to us. So we want to make sure that, let me know. Hopefully that'll work for everybody. I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, I thought that up myself too. Go figure. Here very shortly, Dave Dobmeyer on the ground in Pensacola, Florida, covering the Kent Hovind trial. Will be calling. Jury selection was today for Kent Hovind. It's an extremely important case. Before we're gonna get into it, we're gonna let Dave Dobmeyer explain what's going on with Kent Hovind. I think it's very important that people know and understand and follow his case like you've never followed it before. Because that is our future. More on that when he calls in here any moment. I'm just double-checking our studio interface here. It's amazing. Technology is amazing. So, okay, he's not in yet. But so after we speak with Coach Dave Dobmeyer, what we will do is we'll be talking about what's going on with the United States and Israel. We'll be talking about that in particular, the revelation about Obama threatening to blow out front of the sky Israeli jets over Iraq. This is the brainchild of Brzezinski. Just so you know, the globalist Brzezinski. Folks, we're in for the battle of our lives. We're in the battle of our lives. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. All right. On our newsmaker line, we do have one of the finest people I know, Coach Dave Daubenmire. Coach, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. How you doing, my friend?
Well, Doug, I'm doing great. Finally suffering down here in Florida, where it's a little bit better than the weather you and I probably left behind us up in Ohio. I know that when we left the other day, it was we'd gotten 8 more inches of snow, and the below zero weather has just been unbelievable. So it's 70 here today in Pensacola, where we're down here for the Ken Hovind trial, and I guess that's one of the perks of being able to be down here is the good weather change. Anyway, how you doing, Doug?
Not too bad. Not too far. Well, relatively speaking, not too far from you here in Orlando. I was just talking about this. My goodness, we're talking about a 70 or roughly a 70-degree temperature difference. So it's something. But I really appreciate
it is something, Doug. The last 2 winters, I don't want to talk weather, certainly, but the last two winters up our way has been unbelievable. And, they talk about all the climate change and all that kind of stuff. I don't think we can deny there's something crazy that's going on in Ohio, Doug, for those who aren't up in the Midwest and understand. Once we hit March, they say March comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb. We're still looking at sub below zero weather here in March. Now, it's not that temperature now, but I can never in my lifetime, Doug, ever remember weather being like this.
No, I can't either. I mean, it's been cold, of course, but never, never to this extent. And these extremes we see, it's just ridiculous. Folks, we're talking with Coach Dave Daubenmire, Pass the Salt Ministries, ptsalt.com. And I got to tell you, Dave, I love you had sent me, and I'm not going to get into this. We know we didn't talk about this beforehand, but you had sent me a small gift to carry some papers around and some things around, and I've got it right next to my leg. Thank you so very much
cool.
for your.
Cool.
It's great.
We just wanted you to know we were thinking of you and Joe. So God bless you guys, man. We really appreciate what you do, Doug.
Well, we really appreciate you. And folks, go to ptsalt.com. That's Coach Dave Daubenmire's website, ptsalt, as in passthesalt.com. And you'll see just the lovely mug of Dave Daubenmire there, front and center on News with Views TV. Well, Coach, let's talk Kent Hovind. What's going on with who is Kent Hovind, and why in the heck should we care?
Doug, that's I think a lot of people were asking that question. Dr. Kent Hovind, I got to know him about probably 12, 13 years ago. Maybe, probably what it was, 2003, I think it was, when I was doing some radio in Columbus. He's, I think, the world's greatest creation evangelist. He can make a debate regarding evolution and creationism like nobody I've ever seen. The simplicity with which he does it, and the ability to make the complex simple, and the ability to make those egg-headed college professors look dumb is just what a gift he has. Well, I had him on my radio show back in 2003 and had lunch with him a couple different times, and just if I can use this word, Doug, he's just kind of nerdy. He's just like a kind of homeschool Christian, a kind of guy like you'd expect a homeschooler to turn out to be when he's 55 years old. He's just a folksy down home guy. Well, he got himself in trouble. I guess that would be a term that was used about 8 years ago, 2007 maybe it was, in regards with the IRS and the way he was running his ministry out of Pensacola, Florida, down there, the Creation Evangelism Museum, and he did a lot, traveled all over the world, really speaking on it. And he started to delve into the area of the 501c3 and the corporation with churches, and the churches shouldn't really be arms of the government. That happens when you become a 501c3, and we all know that story. I don't want to play that 501c3 story tonight, Doug, but began to pay his ministers, he called them, the people who worked at the museum, paid them in cash So they weren't employees, they were ministers, but he gave them money in cash, and they were responsible for their own taxes. And, well, it ended up, Doug, the IRS, he got reported, the IRS came after, chased after him, and they ended up convicting him. He had spent, this is his 100th month in jail on what they call structuring charges. And structuring charges were put into place back in the 1970s, I believe, to combat drug money. And the idea being, if you made a deposit over $10,000, it had to be reported to the IRS, any type of cash donation like that. So Kent, knowing that, he would remove from their personal account, his ministry account, $9,000 a week, and they would pay their bills, and they'd give the money to the people who were working as ministers for him. And the IRS used the idea of structuring, in other words, withdrawing less than $10,000 to avoid being noticed by the IRS. They used that as the same laws that they would use against drug dealers who were depositing money, trying to launder money is what it was about. They used that against Kent Hovind, and has spent 100 months and 8.5 years of his life in jail. We're talking about a guy that's not a threat to anybody. Said he's never had a beer in his life, never smoked a cigarette. This is Johnny Mr. Clean, except what he did at the IRS. So what we've tried to do down here, Doug, is say, listen, I'm not going to go back and refight that argument as to whether he should be in jail or shouldn't have been in jail, or whether he did this or whether he did that. In the meantime, the Internal Revenue, the courts now have charged him again with it's called mail fraud. They're trying to get him for mail fraud from jail because he sent out a letter called a LIS Depends, D-I-P-E-N-S, a legal document that means, if I have my facts straight, still in debate, basically is what it means.
Right.
He sent that letter out saying, listen, some of this property that the IRS is getting ready to sell belongs to our ministry, and it's still in dispute. And we want you to know, potential buyers, that this may not be a clear, clean title. Doug, they have now brought him up on two charges of mail fraud because he used the post office to mail the letter. Now, I have heard, whether it's true or not, that had somebody hand-carried that letter for him, there would have been no crime. But because they used the mail to do it, they brought him up on mail charge and possibility of 20 more years in jail. This guy hasn't been out of jail in 8.5 years, and now they want to hit him again for 20 more years. And there's many of us, Doug, we think it's a religious persecution. We think they're after him just because of how effective he has been in regards to the creation evolution debate. Could be wrong, but that's what we think. But either way, we say, how much flesh do you want out of this guy? How much of his life do you want? Isn't 100 months enough of it? So that's why some of us just took it upon ourselves. The scriptures tell us that we're to visit those who are in prison, and so we took it upon ourselves to come down and have a public witness outside the courtroom to what we think is judicial tyranny taking place in the life of Dr. Kent Hovind. We had maybe 10 people that went inside the courtroom where they did just today jury selection. They selected the jury today, and then we had outside maybe another 15 or 20 of us holding signs, and some guys doing some street preaching and different stuff like that. But we're trying to, Doug, we're doing everything we can to try to awaken people to what they're trying to do to this godly man and warn pastors, as much as they may not want to believe it, they could be next. They could be next.
Exactly.
And Doug, I was so disheartened. The three guys we drove down that I drove down from Ohio with, we're just amazed that there's hardly any support locally for him. There aren't churches out there aren't pastors out there, and I think a lot of people don't want to get involved because they're afraid that they'll be the next one audited by the IRS. That's the only thing I can think of to explain it.
Man, okay, I can understand it. I don't agree with it. I mean, I agree with you. I don't agree with with keeping out of it. Well, if I can ask about the today, what happened today, and you said jury selection. Dave, do you know the composition of the jury in terms of men, women, and?
I do not. In fact,
Okay.
one of my cohorts here had he made a great statement. They said that when they were doing it, they're doing the jury selection, that really neither attorney was saying hardly anything at all. All the questions were being asked by the judge, who, by the way, is the same judge that sentenced him 8 years ago. Can you believe that? He has to go back before the same judge for the. To me, that just doesn't seem very kosher.
No.
But my friend said one of the questions they ought to be asking these people is this one: do you believe in evolution, or do you believe that you were created in the image of God? Ask every individual juror that, because Doug, what really begins to arise, and I think we need to think about this more and more in America. What's a jury of your peers? What does that really mean, Doug? Is a non-Christian a peer of yours? Is someone who doesn't believe in evolution, is that a peer of yours? So should Kid Hovind be if he's in court, should he be judged by those who share his same beliefs? If we're just trying to judge the guilt or the innocence of whether or not he did this, should he be judged by non-believers? Doesn't that open up a whole different spectrum on this, Doug?
It certainly does, and I really, despite living in that venue for a number of decades, actually, I never gave that a thought in the context that you brought it up. So, and if you should be able to.
Doug, I'm looking at some of these people. I said to my buddies here, I said, man, oh man, if that's a jury of my peers, I sure don't want them making a decision on my life. And so I think that America has changed so much that the word peer, we used to have a sense of common values we shared, didn't we, Doug? And so you could go to any door, knock on any door, and somebody came out. They probably shared pretty much the same values that you have. We don't live in that kind of country anymore, Doug. And what the prosecution, I believe, will be working hard to do is to make sure that they find people on that jury who do not agree with the views of Ken Hovind. If I was an attorney, that's certainly what I would try to do. If I wanted to win the case, I would want to have people in that jury box who think a lot like me.
Man, and you said a mouthful. So already they're putting him before the same judge that presided over the trial, a decade ago, basically. Now they're, and now the qualifying questions. And folks, you think about what Coach Stottmeyer just said there. The qualifying questions are such that will the jury be weighted already against him? And I think, obviously it certainly sounds as if that will be the case. And the larger degree, of course, is the fabric of our country being changed. Oh, man.
Doug, can you imagine this judge, this is court record now, Doug. This is the same judge that when she sent him 8 years ago, she said that he was running a criminal enterprise. Now, whether or not he was running a criminal enterprise, doesn't that seem like she would be a bit biased when she rules over him this time? And I just can't believe it. If in America, where you're trying to get a fair trial by an impartial jury and an impartial judge, I just don't think that sounds very impartial to me.
No, none at all. And of course, a judge is supposed to have the ability to separate the issues and to separate things. But of course, that's not going to happen. It's not realistic for one to expect that to happen. So that's very interesting. Why the aggressive prosecution? I mean, mail fraud. And I looked into the case. To me, none of this makes sense. The mail fraud charges don't make sense.
Doug, how about this thought? How about every political? See, they're saying it's mail fraud because he was sending something dishonest through the mail. That's their take on it. That's what mail fraud is, right? Hey, Doug, think about during political season when you get all those letters, all those postcards from all those people who are running for office who tell you what they're going to do when they get elected, and then they don't do it. Doug, isn't that mail fraud?
Of course it is.
Doug, what about these pastors? What about these big mega church pastors who send out these flyers and say, listen, you send in $100 and the Lord's going to bless you with $1,000? Doug, isn't that mail fraud? I mean, it is just so ridiculous how they can take the laws that we have in our country today and twist them in just some of the most convoluted ways. And I really believe that that's what they've done with Ken Hovind. Certainly his intent when he sent out that letter, which again, folks, had he hand carried, well, he couldn't hand carry it, but had somebody hand carried that letter for him, it would not have been a crime. It would not have been mail fraud. But because he used, okay, Doug, how's a guy in jail supposed to get a letter to somebody if he can't mail it? and I ask this question, did they check every letter that goes out? Didn't they read what it said before it went? I mean, it's just so bizarre.
It's ridiculous,
man. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And of course, he has a public defender. And I'm not here to besmirch public defenders, but brother, if I'm looking at 20 years in jail, I don't want some guy who works for the government to be the one defending me. And that's really what happened. The public defender is paid by the public. He works for the government. So we're just believing that God's going to have to work a miracle situation, Doug. And we just believe that when this whole thing's over, it will be unmistakably the hand of the Lord. And that's what Dr. Hovind's. That's what his prayer has been. Let the world see that God was the one that vindicated him, and God was the one that delivered him. So, those who are listening out there, I know Ken Hovind. I know of his character, and I believe those of us who are Christians. Number one, Doug, I believe in forgiveness, grace, restoration, and I know that you do too. Yep. And even if Ken Hovind did what they accused him of, he has spent 10 years in jail, not 8.5 years in jail. That's enough, isn't it, Doug? Isn't that enough?
Well, look.
I believe it is.
Yeah, you've got murderers.
Yeah,
I mean, there are murderers that have served less time, and yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. And essentially, this could be a life sentence for this guy. And think about that. Man,
well, how about Al Sharpton?
Oh, yeah.
Al Sharpton owes $4.5 million, and he goes to the White House. He owes right now $4.5 million, and he gets invited to the White House. Dr. Ken Hovind has spent already 8.5 years in jail, and he's back in the courthouse. I mean, you can't make it up. You just can't make it up. So I would ask people out there who believe in prayer that we need some deep intercession for Kent, that the Lord's going to be merciful and going to get him out of there.
Okay.
Scripture tells us, Doug, that the heart of the king is as water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it however he will. And so we know this, that ultimately God's the one who's in charge of all this. But we need God to move on his behalf.
Yeah.
Hey Doug, he's led over 700 men to the Lord while he's been in jail.
Well,
is that something?
But see, I mean, and I certainly don't want to minimize anything, but just perhaps, that's what his task has been, is at least while he's in prison to do that. But we can't. But he could do that certainly voluntarily, or do that without being incarcerated. Let me ask this, Dave. Those people who close to Pensacola, what can they do for you? If folks listening out there, if you're in Pensacola or near Pensacola, listen carefully, Coach. What can the people who are close to Pensacola do for you?
I think it's very simple. If they can get down there, if they can. I mean, we had a mother who brought her homeschool family today. Brought 5 of them down there, and they just stood outside and they prayed. And we got people come down. They could do praise music. There, but people come down there who could join in prayer groups. What we need, Doug, is what Dr. Hovind needs is a public display of support. That's all he needs. We don't need people to go down there and speak against anti-government this and anti-government. They don't need that. They just need to know that there are those of us who love our Lord and those of us who love our brother who are watching. I can tell you this, Doug, there are about 30 of us down here. That's about it. And if we were not down here, and those who have faxed the judge or emailed the judge or called the judge, if we hadn't done that, this guy would be he would be charged and sentenced without anybody even knowing it's going on. And so we think it's important for anybody who can get down here just to come down here and be a public witness, that we stand with Dr. Hovind. It's time to let him go. Let him go. As they said to Pharaoh, let my people go. The average tax issue in America, for someone who is sentenced to jail for a tax issue, the average sentence is 18 months. 18 months, Doug. He's done 100. He's done 100 months, and they want to give him 20 more years.
Wow. All right, you've got 30 people right now approximately down there. What would happen, the 30 people, has there been any at all news coverage whatsoever?
We've had a little bit of local news coverage, I guess with the latest freak show in town, so they come down and they do some video of what's going on. But Doug, throughout this whole thing, except for guys like you and Pastor Manning, and there are a few others, there's been no media coverage of what's going on. And try as we might have tried to get the mainstream media to jump on this case, even if they wanted to be against him. At least if the mainstream media would come out and let people be aware of what was going on down here. If they think he's so evil, publicize it, let everybody know. It's been so under the radar. And so our purpose, again, is to try to raise awareness. Now, we're here in this Pensacola area, and it's beautiful. It's right here along the ocean. And I have to ask myself, Doug, probably within, let's say, 50 miles of Pensacola, Florida, how many people do you think's lives have been touched by Dr. Hovind? How many people by this guy within a 50-mile radius? And nobody can come and stand with him? Nobody can stand out in front and pray that he would be released? No, none of them can do it? Doug, we drove 13 hours. I'm not patting myself on the back. We drove 13 hours, and some folks drove from Dallas 13 hours. The local support is just absolutely non-existent. And that's one of the problems, as I said earlier, that I see with Christianity, is we're quick to shoot our own. Let's say he's guilty. Let's say he did this, Doug. 8.5 years. How much more flesh do they want of this guy, man? Come on. And if we don't stand up and speak up, that they're going to get some more flesh out of him, unfortunately. And we're not talking about a guy who's a threat to anybody, a danger to society. He's not a child molester. He's not a drug dealer. He's a creation evangelist. And I don't wonder sometimes, Doug, if that doesn't scare him more than a rapist.
There you go. And I suspect therein lies the answer in that, the fright factor. You know, he's a danger to society. He's a danger to the narrative if you let him out.
He's
Dave,
a danger to the force of the darkness. Yeah, he's a danger to the force of the darkness, I believe, yeah.
How long are you going to be down there, Dave? You personally?
I'm probably going to be here maybe another couple of days. You have to, after a point, Doug, you have to ask yourself, what's my effectiveness? You know, and we go, as you know, my ministry, Past Assault Ministries, we run to the roar of the battle wherever it is. And I hesitated coming down here because I thought maybe they would pull a dirty trick as they've done before and change the date, right? So I'm going to get in the car and drive 13 hours to get down there, and then they change the date on me. So we were really worried about that. And so at the last minute, we made the decision on Friday, okay, they haven't changed the date. We're going to go. So we've taken off and we've come down here. But I'm like a lot of other guys. I got a life at home. I got a ministry I try to run, you know. So I'm going to commit as much time as I can to be here. But unfortunately, I have other things in my life, other things that were already on the schedule that we have to get back to. Or I would stay down there throughout the duration. I would stay for the whole for me to be able to do it. But
is this a jury trial, Dave?
Yes, it is a jury trial. 12 men and women. Yeah, they think it's going to go in 2 weeks, Doug. Maybe 2 weeks of evidence will be presented.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking here at a list of questions I had before as I was compiling them, and I apologize. So the expectation is roughly a couple of weeks in terms of the length of the trial. You got 30 now. What if we can get 300? What would the effect of 300 people have down there? I'm just curious.
Well, I believe it would have a great effect, but don't forget this, brother. This is in the hands of the Lord, no matter what, anyway. But I just got to believe that numbers matter. And I always use this line when I was a football coach, Doug. It was great having 100 guys on our football team because it made us look powerful. Even though only 15 maybe really played in the game and really made a difference, those other 85 guys really, really mattered. And I think if we could get 300 or 500 or 1,000 people down here, it will in fact have an impact. Now, will it will it sway the jury? I don't know. We don't know that, but could it sway the sentencing part of it if the judge finds him guilty? Maybe. But hey, Doug, let's just pray for one righteous juror. Jury nullification. Just one juror who understands and says, no, he may be guilty of that, but that is wrong. That law is wrong. That's what jury nullification is about. So, listen, you can bring your family down here. The weather's nice, although it's going to get lousy here, I think, towards the end of the week for a couple of days. There's a beautiful park right there in front that people can come and bring their kids. And they could sit out there on these park benches, and they could pray. They could read the scriptures. There's a lot of things you can do. Doug, in my mind, I would just tell you this, Doug Hagmann, they throw you in jail, brother. I'm going to come out and I'm going to do all I can to help you. I'll stand out there. I'll pray. I'll petition. I'll do whatever. Well, my brother is in jail. My brother is in jail, and I feel a moral obligation to do whatever I can to try to help him be vindicated. And boots on the ground do matter. So if anybody is even remotely close to it, just come. Just come and sit in a chair and read a Bible. Just come and be a witness so the people going in and out of that courthouse know that the Christians are alive, well, and awake, and they are watching very closely at what's going on.
All right, Dave, last question I've got for you. Opening statements, are they scheduled for tomorrow or anytime soon?
Yeah, no, it begins tomorrow. Yeah, it begins tomorrow. They did the whole jury thing today, and they will begin in the morning. Doug,
all right.
This isn't about anti-government and all that stuff, although we could get into that debate all we want to. We're talking about a brother in Christ who we believe is being persecuted unduly, unjustly, unfairly, and the body of Christ needs to arise and try to help get this brother out of there.
All right, and I've got a listener, actually a couple of listeners I'm getting emails from wanting to know, should they send letters of faxes to the judge or even the federal the congressman of Florida? Should they do that?
Yes, they should. Doug, in fact, I should have given you the website earlier. Free Kent Hovind has all the information on there. And yes, faxes matter, emails. Yes, call your congressman, get your congressman involved, saying what's going on with this guy. FreeKentHovind.com. And on that website, Doug, there's all kinds of videos of interviews that Kent has given from the jail where he explains what happened and what the charges were and what they did to him and how it all it's just, you can get on there for hours. And when you listen to what they did to this guy, your heart's just going to break. You think he's been away from his family for 8.5 years. He has grandchildren he's never held. Come on, man. Let's let this guy go. FreeKentHovind.com. And by the way, that's Hovind. Kent with a T. Kent, Kent Hovind, Hovind, Hovind.com. All kinds of information on there. This is a great opportunity. People really want to make a difference. This is a great opportunity to do it. The need is so great, Doug. Okay.
All right, my brother. Well, I'll tell you, the word is out. We are calling for reinforcements. Let's stand with Coach Dave Daubenmire. I'll tell you what. Let's have Dave Daubenmire be our coach in this case. Let's get Kent Hovind. Let's stand up. Let's stand in the gap. Let's play our positions. Let's do it. Let's do it now. Dave, closing thoughts. Anything I missed? Anything else?
No, that's it. Yeah, it's just again. I don't have it in my hands, but we're all reminded that old poem I was when they came for the auto workers, I didn't complain because I wasn't an auto worker, right? You remember that, right?
Oh yeah.
When they came for the unionists, I didn't complain because I wasn't a unionist. Well, when they came for Kent Hovind, I didn't complain because I wasn't Kent Hovind. And when it came time for them to come to me, there was nobody to defend me. This is a clarion call for Christians to stand up and defend what we believe is a righteous man who's been unjustly prosecuted.
Amen. Dave, thanks for coming on short notice. I'm glad that we were able to connect, and let me see if we can't get you some reinforcements down there ASAP and so on. You keep in touch, my man. All right.
God bless you, Doug. All you do, and remember the Lord's in control. How this thing will come down will be according to the Lord. But it would sure be good to see some different faces there. How it would encourage Ken Hoven's heart if you could see people come into that courtroom and support him. That would I'm just telling you, it would really build his heart up.
Amen, brother. Coach Dave Daubenmire, that's Pass the Salt Ministries, ptsalt.com. Coach, thanks so much. God bless, my friend.
Thanks. Say hi to Joe for me, all right?
Will do. Thank you, brother.
God bless.
All right. Folks, we're going to be back here very shortly after this short, brief interlude. You're listening to a very special Monday edition of the Hagmann Hagmann Report. We're going to be right back. Stay with us. That is, just stay with us. We're going to be right back after this brief interlude. All right, there we go. Stand by. Hagmann Report. This is one Hagmann flying solo tonight. Doug Hagmann in the helm. Orlando, Florida, live from Orlando. It is the second day of March 2015. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for joining us live tonight, deliberately listening to this program to learn, to understand, to get some more additional information. And we do hope, it's my sincere hope, that you leave tonight with more information, a better understanding than when you came, when you began listening to tonight's program. Of course, last hour we had with us Dave Daubenmire, just north of us, where we are right now in Pensacola, the Kent Hovind trial. This is something that I've got to write up, folks. If you've never heard about Kent Hovind before, you can go on the internet, of course, and you can search his name. Now, Pensacola News Journal, and I probably should have mentioned this. It's interesting. Pensacola News Journal had this news story. Demonstrators show support for Hovind. That, of course, appeared in today's, it was just updated, and Pensacola is, for those who don't know, they're on Central Time. They're just over the line here in Florida, the Panhandle part there. It's interesting. They write, a crowd of demonstrators gathered outside the federal courthouse in downtown Pensacola Monday to support a polarizing local evangelist. Do you notice this? Do you notice how to support a polarizing local evangelist? You know, I'm not a newscaster. I'm not a news anchor. I am not, by definition, not a journalist. But have you noticed polarizing local evangelist? Notice how Hovind is characterized in the media. That's more editorial than fact. Well, one might say polarizing, but show me the people who are, at least with respect to the charges. I'm not talking about the theology, or I'm not talking about what put him in the core issue. Okay, that being his belief against Darwinism, but his belief for creationism. The polarization does not exist in the elements of the alleged criminal activity. The polarization exists in the BS that is behind this motivation, this agenda to put him in prison. But you see, we are all Kent Hovind at this point, whether you know it or not, because if you believe in creationism, then it is your view or your views that will be responsible for the government, or will ignite the government, will begin the government's take against you. And are we seeing that now with the DHS, and with the federal authorities? Think MIAC. Remember MIAC? That's kind of the document that started it all, at least of late. But notice the words here from the Pensacola people, the polarizing local evangelist. Kent Hovind is the founder of the Creation Science Evangelism Ministry, and the theme park Dinosaur Adventure Land Well, he's scheduled to be tried on charges of contempt and mail fraud over the next 2 weeks. This morning, a group of about a dozen supporters. Notice how they go from 30 to a dozen. Well, a group of about a dozen supporters crowded around the intersection of Garden and Palafox Streets with signs and words of support. The group is planning to be here for the duration of the proceedings. Well, that's good. And as Dave Dobmeyer says, look, we all have a life, and it's very true. We've got to get back into, we need to show force, but we also have to understand that we've got other things to do. But we pray for justice, that Kent can be liberated at the shame of our government. Those are the words from Alan Hoyle, who came to Pensacola from North Carolina last week for the trial. Isn't it interesting what Dave Dobmeyer said? You can get people who travel from Ohio, from Kentucky, from North Carolina. But what, you can't fall out of bed and walk across the street? Jeez. Texas, Ohio, Colorado. These are the people who stood on street corners in the courthouse holding an array of Free Kent signs. Now, Kent Hovind is currently approaching the end of his 10-year prison sentence, but no, you got to throw him back in prison for mail fraud and contempt. But see, the original charges, if you want to know the truth, too little, too late from us, but we still need to, at this point, we need to pick this up. He's disputing the charges, of course, but if convicted, mail fraud. And Coach Dave Dobmeyer had it right. I mean, really, the garbage that we get in from these mental midget puny pukes from the political aisle, right or left, it doesn't matter. That's contemptible and mail fraud right there, isn't it? But Kent Hovind is looking at more than 20 more years of sentence in prison. And if it was such a crime, why didn't they stop it from going out? Because in the prison system, they read the federal penitentiary. They read the mail. They thought there was wrongdoing. Hovind is a young Earth creationist, which shouldn't even really enter into the conversation. But if you want to know it speaks to the motivation here by the government. The government does not want you to believe, does not want this to get out, of course, that the story of evolutionism, the Darwinism, is a bunch of BS. It's communist. It's real. I mean, it originates from communist theology, or not theology, but ideology. And folks, evolution is not a science. It's a religion. Did you know that? Darwinism, evolution is not a science. It's a religion. People don't quite understand that. And as far as structuring is concerned, what Dave Dobmeyer is talking about in terms of the monetary aspect of the charges, you do that pretty much all the time, whether you know it or not, if you run a business. I know I've been talking to several business people, including a real estate person who does separate the commission and other checks to avoid being on the radar of the IRS. And of course, that is structuring to avoid that notification to the IRS about a deposit in excess of $10,000. So why pick on Kent Hovind? I think there's your answer right there, because Darwinism, evolution, is not a science. It's not a science. It's a religion. But folks, please understand what Kent Hovind is going through. And you know what? If people from Pensacola is listening to this, if we could bump that number up from 30 to 48, which would be 4 dozen, that'd be great. 100, that'd be greater. 1,000, that would be just astounding. And show them we care. People say, well, you know something, you have we talk about problems, but you offer no solutions. Well, there's one right there. Push away from the keyboard, drive the 5 miles if it's that close, or 5 minutes if it's that close, if you're listening to this program, and show up. Just show up. We can win on the numbers. But call, fax, send, do whatever you need to do. freekenthovind.com. That's freekenthovind.com. By the morning, there'll be a link up there to freekenthovind.com. We need to show up. We need to pay the player positions. We need to help Dave Daubenmeyer out. Here's a guy with 2 others travel 13 hours, and part of the 30 people down there that have come the distance to pray, to be an asset to Kent Hovind and his family. God bless him. Going to be taking your calls at the bottom of this hour, or actually roughly 30 minutes from now. 661-244-9839, live from Orlando, Florida. I want to thank everyone listening, tuning in, listening to us live. How great is that? A couple items that, before we get into the news items, please. I announced during the first hour, if you're joining us late, my heart goes out to those people who want to be at this conference or unable to by reason of whether it's affordability or, hey, I've got to work, or whatever the reason might be. And coming down here, trying to think of really the best thing that we could do to help you out. What is, what can we possibly do? What can we do for you, the listener? And what we decided is this. If you send an email, use Hagmann@Hagmann.com. Send it to studio@Hagmann@Hagmann.com, which is, if you go to Hagmann@Hagmann.com, click on the Contact Us. And in the subject line, put in conference question. Here's what we'll do. Since you can't be here, type your question up. In the subject line, conference question. In the body of the email, write the person you'd like the question asked. We're going to be asking the person of your choice your question. So if you've got a question directly for Jonathan Kahn, just at the top of the email, this question for Jonathan Kahn, and then type your question as succinctly and as succinctly as possible. And understand, you don't have to do a whole page narrative. Just make it simple. And we'll even do up to 2 different conference attendees. What I'll do while I'm here, I'll print them out, and we have a file on each because we're going to be doing the DVDs for these for the conference. So interviews. So we'll incorporate them or ask them separately. So what we'll do is we'll ask the questions of those people you're asking, and I'll write down the answers, and I'll either reply to you directly if it's possible. If not, then it'll have to be over the air, and I'm expecting a lot of people will ask the same or similar questions. But that's, because I've been in the position where, I'd love to go, but I can't. I can't get the time off work. I can't. It's just not in the stars. And of course, you can't depend on whether it's going to be, the question's going to be asked, or they're going to talk about it. So really, live streaming is kind of out of the question, and in terms of my question, we'll say. And well, who knows? So this is what we decided to do for you as the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, representing you here at the conference to those who cannot attend here in person. But if you do attend here in person, please look us up. I'd love to meet you face to face, shake your hand, give you a hug. What the heck, right? I'd love to do that. Meet you, put a face to the name. Oh, it'd be great. I really appreciate your support. And I don't know, it makes all the difference in the world. I want to thank Lisa E. Thanks so much, Lisa. At the beginning of the first hour, I was talking about traveling with her puppy, how great it is. And Lisa E. writes, her breed is called Blue Tick Healer. I've got a Facebook page under my own name, and her picture's there. That was when she's 8 months. It's going to be 8 months this month, but that's when I think the picture's 2 months old. She's really filled out, matured a lot, and but thank you, Blue Tick Healer. Thank you. They're really great dogs. You're right, and my wife will like this. They're part dingo, and when you wrote that, I'm thinking to myself, and I don't know how many people watched Seinfeld. Maybe the dingo ate your baby. It got me laughing. That's pretty funny. But a sweeter dog I've never had. But certainly, Lisa E., thank you so much for your email and for all your emails of support. That's really great. All right. Very important story here. I don't know how many people heard of this. This did appear on World Net Daily yesterday. Feds raid Texas political meeting. Did you hear about this? Now, there are bigger things, other stories. You're talking about Obama and such, but this is important. Folks, please understand, this will be happening more and more and more, and it's going to be against you. That's right, you listening to this program. Do you know right now there's a diner in the west, northwest actually, that they get together and they listen to this program. It's shut down. When I say Pacific Northwest, I'm not talking about Northwest, I'm sorry, I'm not talking about the Pacific Northwest, I'm talking about the basically the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. If I said it otherwise, I'm sorry, I'm just really wiped out. But having said that, they actually listen to this program live when it's on, and they get together, and the diner's closed. They close early, and they stay over. I want to say hello to you, Mike, Jeff, Robert, Jennifer. I don't have the other names here, but at least those I mentioned. Thank you so very much for listening. But they listen to this show. Now, can you imagine this? Here, and imagine you folks doing the same thing. Here you're sitting around a diner table, maybe drinking coffee, taking notes. Who knows what you might be doing? But in a deliberate show of force, federal and local police forces raided a political meeting in Texas, fingerprinting and photographing all attendees, as well as confiscating all cell phones and personal recording devices. Members of the Republic of Texas, it's a succession movement dedicated to restoring Texas as an independent constitutional republic, and they gathered on Valentine's Day in Bryan, Texas. The meeting hall, along with public onlookers, now they were debating issues of currency, international relations, and celebrating the birthday of one of their oldest members. Essentially what they were doing is they were forming their own, or planned on forming their own state, of course, succeeding. Now, think as you will. But the group, which describes itself as congenial and unimposing, and if you look at the photograph, unimposing to say the least. It maintains a small working government, including official currency. Now we're getting into the truth, aren't we? They've got their own official currency in Congress and courts. According to mysanantonio.com, this is on WorldNet Daily. Minutes into the meeting, a man among the onlookers stood moved to open the hall door, letting in an armored force of the Bryan Police Department, the Brazos County Sheriff's Office, the Kerr County Sheriff's Office, agents of the Texas District Attorney, the Texas Rangers, and the FBI. Do you think that might be a little overkill? Man. In the end, at least 20 of the officers corralled, searched, fingerprinted all 60 attendees before seizing all their cell phones, recording equipment in this Valentine's Day massacre. Those are my words, not theirs. Now think about that. The police searched and fingerprinted each person. at the meeting. The only thing they didn't do was take DNA. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to understand what's taking place here. You're meeting together. Look what our forefathers did. Now these people are going to be forced to do this in private. It was pretty interesting right now at airtime. It was about 5,400 comments to this story. I don't know how many people. It seems like quite a few comments. This really is a slap in the face to those people who really care for the Constitution, because this is basically is taking them out like this. The police force presence. You talk about unconstitutional. There you have it. The disposition at this point, with respect to these people, is unknown. But I can tell you this: these are the very people that are going to continue to be targeted. Whether you're, quote, a sovereign citizens, or you're just talking about creating this party of political dissent, you're walking around with crosshairs on you. And you know what the sad part is the progressives, the Marxists, the so-called Democrats, they're laughing at you. They're laughing at us. Yeah. Please pay attention to things like this. Please pay attention to the fact that you've got this government overreach into these thought crimes, into this political process, or this. When I say thought crimes, I'm talking about you get together, you talk about. Now, look, I understand they have their own currency, but think of it this way: if you've got a group of people who decide that, I'm going to trade my cows for your sheep, and then I'm going to trade my sheep for your lawn tractor, and I'm going to trade my lawn tractor for a couple of bars of silver. Aren't you really essentially creating your own currency? In a sense, you decide what's of value. I guess my point is this: what they're doing is certainly can be construed well within the Constitution. But isn't that funny? The government can do this. The government can use a fiat currency created out of thin air, essentially. Don't you try it. Here's another story that you really need to keep a close eye on. The White House plans to develop a country within a country of 15 million new Americans. Have you heard about this? Citizens, legitimate citizens like you and I and your families. We're going to be cast into the shadows. We're going to be considered what? Second and third class citizens. The White House has plans to legalize between 13 and 15 million illegal immigrants who will then establish a country within a country, this according to the Independent Sentinel. Now, look, we're talking illegal immigration. We're talking about right now a continuing course of criminal conduct by the current administration, or by the renegade in chief and the people around him. This story at the Independent Sentinel began unbeknownst to Obama officials. There is a woman by the name of Susan Payne. She's a contributor to WCBM. She's a co-host of the Pat McDonough radio show. Ms. Payne was invited to listen in on conference calls at an immigration rally. Cecilia Munoz, director of the White House Domestic Policy Council, and 16 members of the White House cabinet were on the first call. White House officials were on all three calls. Well, what Ms. Payne learned, what Susan Payne learned, needs to be immediately shared with not just the Congress, but every American listening to this broadcast and every person who cares about the future of this country, because Ted Hayes, well, let me just put it this way, and I'll just kind of reference what the Independent Sentinel said. It should be noted that Ted Hayes, founder of America's Block Shield, also listened on these calls. More on that here in a second. But here's the deal. The task force of New Americans and the receiving communities are part of a plan by the renegade communist Muslim-in-chief to develop a country within a country that will eventually form a new country, if you will, and fundamentally transform the United States. Isn't that what this renegade-in-chief Marxist globalist wants? The conference calls and meetings surrounding the task force made it clear that Obama is planning to legalize and protect 13 to 15 million illegal immigrants who will then be moved rapidly and without any blockade directly into citizenship. So last week, you're an illegal immigrant. You're actually a felon here on this soil. This week, now you're being fast-tracked into citizenship. When these new Americans come out of the shadows, the communities in which they've been placed will be designated as receiving communities. So let's just say you've got, 10,000 Somalians in your community who've been living illegally. When I say community, let's talk about the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, and let's talk about Somalians that are upwards of perhaps 750,000. And let's talk about those Somalians who have no allegiance to the United States and, in fact, will not even assimilate into the United States culture, the fabric of the United States, and some of whom actually go back to their countries, or Somalia, go back to Somalia and hook up with members of, we'll say, groups like Al-Qaeda. And these are the very people who are allowing to stay here, not just stay here without any type of criminal activity, but with a direct hands-off approach by Obama, by Holder, by every person in charge, including the Gang of Eight and the congressional people, and say you cannot touch, no, you can't touch these people. It's a protected class of citizens. Yet they can join Al-Qaeda, they can join ISIS, and you've got nothing that you can say about it. Yet they can collect welfare, they can collect unemployment here in this country, and you've got nothing to say about it. They can take your jobs and your homes away from you, and you've got nothing to say about it. This is exactly what's taking place right in front of your noses. And the people like John Bonnier, you know what they're saying? Not a problem. What can we do to help you, Mr. President? Well, you're going to have more new Americans coming out of the shadows, creating a country within a country, all of these non-assimilated communities. Because why? Because the goal of this renegade, the goal of each and every globalist is, of course, to what? To destroy the moral fabric of this country, to destroy the religious fabric of this country, to take away our national sovereignty, to take away the sovereignty of each individual states, to take away the power from the states, but also to destroy the middle class of this country, to destroy our culture, to destroy our religion. For what purpose? So we don't have any resistance left when they come in and take us over, to make us a globalist nation. Obama's plan is to treat the new Americans, in quotation marks, as refugees as soon as amnesty is pushed through. And don't you think amnesty is being pushed through? It certainly is. So the next time that you run into that person from the UK or perhaps Ireland or someplace in Western Europe who has sought, waited, and tried for so long to become a citizen of the United States and was made to jump through hoops, the next time that you talk to that person, perhaps you might owe them an apology. Maybe not you, but the Marxist, communist, progressive, pinko person out there, political mental midget that is behind this, perhaps maybe they owe them an apology, do they not? I do think so. Shocking and frightening interview by Mark Levin, accessible via independentsentinel.com. Let me ask people like Mark Levin a question, and please, I'm not going to pick on Mark Levin, but let me ask each and every person a question. Each and every person who, when Barack Obama was a presumptive nominee and ultimately the nominee for the Democratic nominee for president. Where were you asking about his citizenship? Where were you asking about his bona fides while you weren't making fun of us, the birthers? Oh, I'm sorry, you were making fun of the birthers of us, asking questions about the allegiance and the bona fides of Barack Hussein Obama. Were you not? If you happen to be listening to this program right now, and at the time you considered the eligibility of Barack Hussein Obama to be a red herring, maybe you still do, then you're part of the problem and certainly not even close to being part of the solution. That's just my view. And each and every person right now, at least in my view, that has a microphone in front of their face and a TV camera in front of their face and print space or print ink barrels, you should be talking about this and writing about this, about who in the hell is Barack Hussein Obama. Why is Barack Hussein Obama? Why is he using a fake name? Why is he using fake bona fides credentials? Why? And what caused his meteoric rise to fame? And you might say, well, gee whiz, I'm so tired of you talking about this. Well, doggone it, don't we have games called because of ineligible receivers downfield? Don't we have games called because of ineligibility of players? Of course we do. Of course we do. But you know what? Isn't it funny? People make so much more out of sports. You had a bad call in sports, my gosh, you've got gazillions of guys coming off the couch having a stroke and crushing up their Budweiser cans and saying, oh, goodness gracious. Man, I'm saying a lot worse than that, and causing a big brouhaha over the fact that there was a bad sports call, but when you've got the most powerful position in the world and you've got a question with respect to eligibility, all you can do is call those people who believe in the fact that we've been lied to, birthers, the pejorative term birthers. Where were you? Where are you now? Are you still holding that feeling? You still calling us birthers? How you like your country now, 8 years later? Oh, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get a heck of a lot worse, and I'll tell you why. Because Obama, obviously, Obama is going to do what he damn well pleases. And I'm sorry if I sound crass. I'm pretty upset tonight with respect to what's going on here, because I'll say this: Obama now, it's going to get worse, because he is going to use his executive orders to unilaterally pass taxes. You heard about this, right? Certain taxes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to Obama if it necessitates, if his actions are really required, if his actions are a requirement of Congress. No, he's going to do exactly what he wants to do. You see, that's what tyrants do. And trust me, Obama is a tyrant. And you know, the facilitators of the tyranny are the very people who we are supposedly supposed to respect, the very people who are behind this and who facilitate this and say this is okay are the Republicans and so-called conservatives. And there is not one conservative in Congress, and by conservative I mean conservative. There is not one conservative in Congress who has got the intestinal fortitude to stand up and say no. John Boehner, get rid of Boehner right now. But who's got the intestinal fortitude? You can't get a simple majority to take Boehner out in the House. You cannot get a simple majority anywhere of anybody with any degree of moral character, integrity. Where has that gone? Where has it gone? Where has it gone? Where are the men in this country? But see, right now we're allowed to take, and it's fine. It's fine. We're going to let Obama make taxes and expand his executive authority. Why? Oh, and that's the other thing too. It's interesting. Obama says I'm going to use my executive authority to executive actions to the point where it doesn't matter, because even if Congress says, well, you can't use your executive authority in that fashion, I'm just going to veto Congress's bill. That, by very definition, is tyranny. That's a despot. And America is in that position right now. Who's going to stand up for us? Will there be anyone to stand up for us when, and you know, it amazes me to think that all of us believe, and at some level we all believe that we're immune to be hauled off like that group in Texas. You see, it can't happen here. It can't happen here. You're just overstating the case. You're just making this much worse than it really has to be. It won't happen here. Do you think that Americans will stand for it? No. They'll sit for it. They'll kneel. They'll lean for it. They'll lay in bed for it, because they're already doing it. Here's the problem. It's happening right before our very eyes, but people aren't seeing it. People aren't seeing it. You don't think it'll happen here? It's already happening here. The other report, we told you this was going to happen. We told you this. We told you in late 2008 that Obama was going to act was going to act against Israel. Obama reportedly threatened to shoot down the Israeli Air Force, in their attack against Iran. This happened last year. This is now coming out. The Bethlehem-based news agency, cited a Kuwaiti newspaper report last Saturday saying that Obama thwarted an Israeli attack against Iran's nuclear facilities back in 2014 by threatening to shoot down Israeli jets before they could reach their targets in Iran. This is Brzezinski. Zygmunt Brzezinski. Remember him from the Cartery/Misery Index days? His daughter Mika, on Morning Joe. I've got a dead intern in my office, Scarborough. You know, Joe. Whoops, dead intern in my office, Scarborough. Mika Brzezinski. You know her. Starry-eyed for Joe Scarborough. The daughter, the Luciferian satanic spawn of Zygmunt Brzezinski, working for Joe Scarborough on PMS NBC. Interesting. Remember that place? Remember them? Well, see, this is Zygmunt Brzezinski's idea of a good idea. Let's not let the Israeli Air Force fly over Iraq. We're going to shoot them down. That's what we do to our friends, right? We can't have this. We're going to shoot them down. Don't forget Valerie Jarrett, Obama's left brain or right brain or entire brain, or at least his mother, I don't know, in the White House is Iranian. And she came out back in 1977 saying that essentially, you know, for better or worse, America is going to be an Islamic country. And Obama said the same thing in his book, Audacity of Dope. What? That's not the title? I forget the title then. But he certainly said in his Cairo speech back in 2009 that this was a Muslim country, basically. But the bottom line is this. You've got all the globalists in the White House, all the globalists in the executive branch, all the globalists in both in the Congress and the Senate. If you think for 1 second that there's a difference, there is no difference. But now it's going hot. Now it's hot. Now it is. We're at the precipice of a hot shooting war, World War III. Don't forget Bill Salas, who's going to be here at the Prophecy Conference. 10 Confederate Nation of Muslim countries against Israel. Don't forget Psalm 83 war. Don't forget Ezekiel. Don't forget Isaiah, the prophecies. Are we not seeing this right now? I don't know. Maybe it's just all fear porn. Maybe it's all doom porn. Go back to watching The Walking Dead. Right? All right. Yeah, you can tell I'm not in the best of mood. Let's go to the phones. What do you say? Wait a minute. We got 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Let's go to the phones. You guys don't want to hear me talk, right? Okay. I got somebody in the background saying, "You're doggone right. I want to hear you talk." I'm going to put that person on the mic. I'm going to grab this person and put this person down in front of the mic right now. No. That person, all I saw was elbows and all the soles of their feet. Okay. Tell you what we'll do. We're going to go to area code 571. 571, you've been on the hold the longest. Let's go to you right now. What's on your mind? 571, you're up. 571. Wait a minute. I guess I got to hit that button there. Wait. I don't have control of my switchboard. This is horrendous. Wait a second. There we go.
Hello?
There we
Can
go.
you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
Hey, Doug.
Hey,
William R. How you doing?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good. I seen a thing today where, what's her name, old Rice said that the U.S. had to be friends and protect their allies, Iran.
Yes.
Is she nuts?
Yes, she's nuts. Certifiable.
Yeah.
Well, Actually, nuts is probably a no. I don't think I don't think she's crazy. I think what we're seeing here is the implementation of a globalist agenda based on lies, deceit, and of course the art of war, Sun Tzu's art of war. But no, I think that there's an allegiance here. I don't think it's insanity. I think it's more of a planned, orchestrated chaos which will erupt and then lead to the globalization of the country. That's my personal view.
Right.
So, what do you think?
And I think it's true, and I think that when Benjamin Netanyahu gets back, it won't be long before war breaks out.
Do you think he's here to tell us that the bombers are flying?
I think
in other
so.
words, okay, because now doesn't it make more sense now to understand that maybe he's here to tell us that he couldn't do it before because Brzezinski threw and Obama threatened to shoot him down. Now if he appeals to Congress and say, you know what, bombers are in the air, what are they going to do? They're not going to shoot him down.
No.
Good point. So what happens then?
I guess Obama sits back. I bet he's, like I wrote to you in that email today, I bet he's punching walls today.
Yep.
He's probably hitting the desk, everything.
There might have to be some plaster work done in the Oval Office or drywall work done in the Oval Office. Yeah, you're right.
But
interesting.
Because he's got to be fired up.
I would think so, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool, brother.
I like old Netanyahu. I think he's not perfect, but at least he defends his country.
Well, of course, yeah. And you've got to look. We understand too. We understand the difference between the political Zionist agenda and of course the Jews of God, and we understand that. But at some point you've got to realize what we're dealing with. But brother, you're right on the money, man. Appreciate that.
Right. No, thanks for taking my call. Have fun.
Well, thank you. Thanks for calling. God bless, man.
You're welcome. Bye. God
All
bless you too.
All right. Well, now I'll tell you what. What a great call. I'm going to try to operate this board properly. That seemed like a fluke there, but and again, we're going based on hold time. Okay, based on hold time. Let's go to area code 304. Area code 304. You're up with Doug Hagmann. How you doing?
Hi, Doug.
Hey.
Am I on the air?
I hope so.
Okay. Well, this is Phil from West Virginia. We are
Phil, it's great to hear you.
In a mess.
Yeah, we are.
Well, it's good to hear you too. I'd love to be down there with you guys. I would have loved to. If I was going to take a vacation this year, I would have been down there with you guys. So.
Well, we understand. Look, we understand you can't. And I got to say this: I haven't really been outside of the hotel room. I haven't been outside of the hotel except to walk the dog. So I don't really know. They tell me it's nice.
I know it's no vacation for you. I know.
Yeah.
I heard your anger a little bit there. And I've been angry myself, and I wish people would perceive the time that we live in. When in our history have we ever saw a whole ocean be poisoned as it is right now, and all the life dying in it? When have we ever saw that? I wish
don't think we
people
ever
would
have,
perceive the time.
Well, exactly, and who in the world's reporting on this? But of course, it's not. It's not really being poisoned. That's just baloney. That's really, you shouldn't talk. You know what? You shouldn't talk like that. You're depressing me. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're depressing me. I don't know whenever there's been a time like this in the whole history of mankind, if you want to know the truth, other than the flood of Noah and whatever. You can go back further than that. I don't really want to talk about that, but when have we ever seen this?
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. I don't think we have, and I think that it's only going to get worse, and it's, the Pacific Ocean by Fukushima, the Gulf of Mexico by the core exit in the BP oil horizon, or the BP horizon. What the heck next is going to be the Atlantic, and then you got the skies being chemtrailed, and of course the waters here in the United States and all across the country, and the continents are being fouled. The land is being fouled. So, it's hey, no problem. Go back to watching, Dancing with the Stars or with
exactly.
Yeah.
Go back to watching whatever you're watching on TV, because that seems to be the great communicator.
That's right.
So
that's right. Yeah. But my brother, I'll tell you, I wish you were down here, and if I wish really I'd love to see everyone, but since you're not, if you do have questions, send us in. What do you think of that idea? I mean, we kind of talk a lot. Do you think it's a pretty good idea?
But you can ask anyone. You can ask any of those guys that, and I would have to. And that would be my question that I would ask any of them. When in the history of man have you ever seen an ocean die?
All right.
And when in the if you read the Bible, what's it say? A third of the ocean is going to die and all of its creatures.
Right.
When have you ever seen that? So what time do you think you're living in?
Amen, brother. That's a rhetorical question.
All right.
You're in.
My friend, and, little things, we look at political things and all that. I mean, but this is on a worldwide scale that has never been done, never will be done, and without God's intervention, it won't be fixed either.
That's very true.
I love you and all the listeners and all the brothers down there, and you guys just keep doing what you're doing.
All right, man.
Get the word out.
Hey, we love you too, man. You keep pounding away, and we'll talk soon. God bless. We're up against the top of the hour.
All right. God bless you too.
We'll talk again. All right, folks. That was Phil from West Virginia. My goodness, what a great call. What a great friend of the program. Really, a great friend of the program. And you know what? Each and every one of you listening are a very valued part of the program. We really do. We care a lot. My wife and I were talking on the way down. My wife is she's a great lady. I mean, I love her to death. And she said, you got the best audience. I mean, she reads along with me, but she reads the emails, she reads the letters of support, she reads ladies and gentlemen, to our third and final hour of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. It's just kind of like the Hagmann Report tonight. I'm Doug Hagmann on this Monday, March 2nd, 2015, leading up to the Prophecy in the News Conference this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We've got the honor of speaking at that conference. I've got to tell you that in honor, indeed it is. I want to share with you an email I received from Lauren B. Lauren, God bless you. I received this on Friday. She writes this: my sister Rachel and I decided at the last minute to attend the summit in Orlando. We're flying from Seattle to Florida. That's great. Yeah, clear across the country. We've been followers of your show for a few years now and hope to meet you both in person. But and then she goes on to say when she's going to be arriving. I just want to say that Lauren B., thank you, and your sister, God bless you, and look us up. We'll indeed meet up, and it'll be great. And thank you for taking your time out. And I got to tell you, folks, look, we understand that not everyone can make it, so that's why we're attempting to accommodate those of you who are who have to work or for reasons, whatever the reasons might be, are not able to. So send in your questions, and this is the last time we'll make this announcement, the third and final hour here. If you've got questions for any of the guests that if you were here could ask them, send them to me, and I will personally hunt them down, duct tape them to a chair if necessary, and ask them. and then either reply back to you via email or either on air. At some point. It depends on how many questions we get and whatever, but I will definitely attempt to do that. And I was thinking on the way down here, what's the best possible way we can help those people who can't make it? And folks, if you can make it, there's still time. Man, just come on down. Orlando, Prophecy in the News Conference, it's going to be a class act. The hotel, like I said, they tell me it's beautiful, where I've been in a room pretty much, in a series of rooms, actually, looking at the various conference parts. But anyway, let's get back to the phones and talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. We are going to area code 804-804. You're up.
Hello, you got me?
Hey, that's you.
Hi, it's Maria here.
Maria,
I
the
got
author.
something.
Let me give you a proper introduction. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is Maria. She is the author of Prepare for Persecution. And she's a caller of the show. She's a friend of the program. We love her. And Maria, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I wanted to tell you some stuff about evolution and the thing on Kent Hovind, because the coach Dalbemeyer is very right that evolution, and you are, that evolution is not a science, it's a religion. So what that means is the attack on Kent Hovind is actually a kind of an inquisition. They're going after a heretic. And I wanted to tell you some stuff about evolution. Humanism is a tax-exempt religion, and they're 501c3 tax-exempt religion in this country. And where they list their statement of faith, the first item in their statement of faith is evolution. Also, humanism has become a state religion because it's taught in our public schools. And evolution is absolutely foundational to humanism. And the other thing, do you remember Paul Robeson from years ago, that wonderful, deep, rich voice who sang Old Man River?
Yes.
Yeah, well, he became a communist, and he went to Russia in order to study communism, and he was disappointed because they wouldn't teach him anything about communism until they spent weeks and weeks and weeks teaching him about evolution. It wasn't until he was thoroughly indoctrinated with evolution, it wasn't until after that they'd even start to teach him communism. So evolution's a foundational basis of communism. Without that, communism doesn't work. So there's a whole lot involved here besides just...
Isn't that interesting? Evolution is a foundational concept of communism. It's that simple.
Right, and people don't realize Marx was actually a Satanist and not a atheist. He claimed to be an atheist, but he was a Satanist. So evolution denies that God is creator, and the devil has a vested interest in believing that God is not the creator, because if God is the creator, then the devil doesn't have any chance of winning. So I think he was the first evolutionist. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense for him to try to take over. You know, it's not. You have to have not only motive but plausible opportunity in order to commit a crime. You might want to hit a policeman, for instance, but you don't if he's got a weapon. You've got better sense than that, right?
So one would hope, yeah.
Yeah. So why would the devil take on God if he really knew that God was the creator and the devil was just a creature? It would be total insanity. So the first person, remember deceiving and being deceived in the Bible? The first one was the devil deceived himself in thinking, hey, wait a minute, maybe God isn't the creator. Maybe we both evolved. If you think that, then you've got a chance of winning, right?
Right. Very, very well said, yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it went like that, but that makes sense anyway. Otherwise, it would be total insanity for him to try to take on God.
Yes, it contextualizes it does add context to the larger good versus evil fight, and I get that, and I think that helps a lot of people out there.
I think that's one reason people get so hyper on the evolution thing, because what's really at stake here is God, and there are even people that say, how can we kill God? And they say the way to do it is deny creation, teach evolution.
That's right.
So
that's another reason too. Homeschooling is such a threat to the school system, to the American public, or to the state, I should say, not to the American public, but homeschooling is such a threat because the evolution, that's really one of the cornerstones of our Common Core, as well as the Christianization of our country is in fact evolution. So
right.
They're
trying to indoctrinate and brainwash. It's the same thing the Nazis and the communists did.
Yep.
If they can just get their Hitler youth and their communist youth totally brainwashed, they've got the next generation, and then they're totally in there. But also, these people are going to grow up and be the soldiers to fight the old ones that resist.
Absolutely. Well, how very well said, Maria. Is there any closing comments you might like to add? Yeah,
we need to be really praying for Kent Hovind, because you know the thing about it can't happen here. It can happen here, and we have got to stand up. And the media is so corrupt, and if you had 1,000 people there, they might say you had 200. Well, at least you'd have the public would know you had some interest. You know, we've got to really multiply the effort, because they're going to lie about it and downplay it.
And we need to contact anyone we can contact in terms of the people around there, the senators, whoever we need to contact, the media. Let's flood them. Let's help Dave, Coach Dave. I mean, how often does Coach Dave ask for our help? Maria, thank you so much.
And we need to be praying for him, and also for spiritual protection, because I'll bet you that there are covens out there doing rituals to try to make it go bad.
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah, that's just for real. So God's bigger, but we need to pray for protection.
And
well, God bless you. Thank you so much for all you're doing.
All right. God bless. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Right. Please prepare for persecution. Man, folks, if you can, grab that book. Go to HagmannandHagmann.com. Scroll all the way down, and look on the right. Prepare for Persecution by Maria Canese. That book should be in every home, every library. I got to tell you, if you buy one, buy two, because you're going to be giving one away. I guarantee it. Let's prepare for persecution. We're going to go to area code. Boy, I just got decent glasses here, or not too long ago. Let me see, 805. We're going to be going to 805. You next. 805. You're up next. Go ahead. You're on with Doug Hagmann. 805. All right, we're going to put you back on hold, and we're going to go to. Let me just see. We're going to go by wait time. We've got a pretty good board here. 661-244-9839, 661-244-9839. We're going to go to area code 423. That's area code 423. Area code 423. You're on with Doug Hagmann.
Hello, Brother Doug Hagmann.
Hey.
I just want to praise God and say He's soon to return. I don't have anything profound to say, but I love you.
Well, we love you too. I love you as well. I appreciate you being out there as a listener, and I'll tell you what, it means a lot to hear those words.
Yeah.
That's profound.
It is. You know, I find the hardest people to reach are people in church, and they just don't want to hear anything. I don't know why. But I'm a born-again believer.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
No, most people in church, isn't it amazing? The hardest people to really convince that there's something wrong and we need to be praying, we need to be handling things, are the people that are closest to us and the people that say they're closest to God in church. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Anyway, I'm not going to take up any more time. If with your permission, I'd like to pray.
Sure, please. Yes.
Father, I come to you in prayer with Doug Hagmann and all the listeners. And God, we're so needy. We can't get through a day without you. Lord, and sometimes we look at the world, we have no fear. We're just absolutely fearless. And sometimes, Lord, we have trepidation and don't know which way to turn. At times we have information overload, Lord God, but sometimes we just don't have enough. We're sort of caught in the middle of negotiating life. So God, I ask you, be Emmanuel with the Hagmanns, with all their guests. And God, be God with us. And we need you. Sometimes, Lord, all we need to get through the day and a week is just the touch from you that you know we're there. And Father, in Jesus' name, with the authority that he gives us in Matthew 16 and 19, I bind up every evil scheme against the Hagmanns, against their guests that come on this show. Every evil scheme will fall to the ground flat. By no means shall anything, any substance, harm these brothers and sisters that gather together here to pronounce the truth. And in Jesus' name, I loose into people a desire and a love for the truth. Lord God, a desire to know the truth. Because, God, you said that is the very thing that will send people to hell, is that they love not the truth. And because of that, you will send them great delusion, strong delusion. So, Lord God, I ask you just to encourage all the listeners here as we go down the road. And it's not a dead-end road. The world would want us to think it's a dead-end road. The New World Order would want us to think that we have no choice. But God, we have every choice in the world. And Father, our brothers and sisters overseas that are dying, their heads cut off, crushed under the feet of the Muslims, Lord God, and we know it's not Islamic Muslims themselves, the individuals that are our enemy. It's the evil spirit of Allah behind them, that Satan, and that who Allah is a Satan incarnate. And God, I pray for the Muslims in this world, in this nation. I pray they will come to the light of Jesus Christ and to the truth, Lord God. Father, only you can protect us. God, you said in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if your people would humble themselves and pray and seek your face and turn from our wicked ways, then you would hear our cry, you would forgive our sins, and you would heal our land. God, I see people humbling themselves and crying and seeking your face, but God, you're not healing our land. So it must be the wicked ways of your people, Christians, Lord, that we're not turning from them. So, God, my prayer right now here on national, worldwide radio, this humble man from Mossville, Georgia, God, I just pray that you show the church, you show your people, show the remnant what sins it is we need to turn from, what wicked things we need to turn from, Lord God, so you'll heal this land. If it's too late, it's too late. If it's not, it's not. God, only you know for sure. But in the meantime, let us love one another, encourage one another, and edify one another, and be not afraid to speak the truth boldly as Paul and Barnabas did in Acts 14:3, which they spoke boldly in the Lord, which gave power and gave word to their testimony, Lord God, and many mighty works and miracles and signs and wonders were done by their hands. So, God, that's what we need. We need people speaking boldly in the Lord. So I pray that, Father. In Jesus' name, I love Doug Hagmann. I love Joe Hagmann. I love Steve Quell. And I love Pastor Langford. There's the Langford, the most ones that I speak to me more than anything on this show that I listen to. Touch them all, Father. Bring us together in the unity of love. And, Father, we bind up fear. We have no fear when we trust in you. God, I'm going to place my trust in you to the point of I don't care if I'll ever die. I'm your servant, Lord. Let me speak boldly. In Jesus Christ's name I pray, amen.
Oh, amen. Amen. Brother, you said you had nothing profound to say. Well, that prayer was as profound as any as I've ever heard, and I just want to say thank you so much for that. My goodness. God bless you, my friend.
All glory to God the Father, brother. Good night.
Good night. Wow. What a great call. What a great call. We've got some of the best we do have the best audience in the entire world. We really do, don't we? All right, let's go back to the phones. Going back in, looking at this in order of time received here on hold. Let me just see. Is that an 8 or a 0? 989. Well, we're going to go to 989. 989. You're up with Doug Hagmann.
Okay. Thank you, Doug.
Hey.
Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm right here.
All right. I just love your show. I love the guests. One of the questions I had, I emailed you earlier, but you're so busy you probably haven't had a chance to get to it, is the HH connections that John is putting together.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I've done it wrong. I've listened to the show over and over again to make sure I've done it right, and it keeps coming up, invalid email address. And I don't know if other listeners are having the same problem or not, but I know I am, and I really want to get connected with other listeners, and I just wanted to pass that along and just say God bless you all.
Okay, I've got your email right here, actually, with a flag beside, flag checked, and I've got to check with John. I got to find out what's going on. I've got two other. You're the second. I've got two people that are having issues, connectivity issues. Interestingly enough, HH Connections connectivity issues. Anyway, I'll let you know by email once it's fixed. This should be fixed right away. I just haven't gotten to it before the show, but I will get to it here right afterwards. So within 24, 48 hours, you should get some type of acknowledgement.
All right, Doug. Thank you very much, and God bless you and all of the guests. And we just pray that the Lord put a hedge of protection around all of you. In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name, amen, brother. Thank you so much for your interest in everything. God bless, my friend. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We're going to go to the phones, back to the phones here in just a second. I've been asked to explain something. Excuse me, but I just want to very quickly explain this on our radio app, radio app. Oh goodness, there's all, folks, the app that we have to listen to our program via mobile phone. Okay, no one's trying to use your microphone. No one's trying to use your video camera. You've got to be completely off your flippin' nut or insane to think that that's happening. Okay, here's the deal very quickly. Someone asked me, would you explain this, because they were concerned that, we were improperly accessing connections. Here's the deal. The application works very simply. You go to download the application. What it does is it simply sits on top of whatever default settings are on your telephone. So if you allow, for example, your phone to access your microphone or to access your camera for other applications, it's going to ask you, would you like it? Would you like your phone or would you like Hagmann Hagmann app to access your phone, your microphone? See, it's the default settings of the instrument, whether it's your iPhone or your Android, your iPad. It has nothing to do with the application, except it's asking you, do you want this turned on? Tell me. It's just that simple. Somebody had sent me some news item that somebody posted saying that app wants permission video or app, not our app, but an app taking pictures of young girls. And I'm reading this, I'm thinking, where does this stuff come from? Who thinks this up? I mean, certainly stuff like this happens, but certainly it's not our app. So check your permissions on your phone. It's interesting because, see, we pay a monthly fee. And let me just say this very quickly. And if you think it chaps my butt cheeks a little bit, it does. See, we pay for this. So what happens is this is actually impinging upon our do I say revenue? I suppose it kind of offsets our costs. So the bad word of mouth or the allegations of this impropriety affects our ability to offset our expenses. Think about that just for a second. So no, we're not trying to access your microphone here. We're not trying to access your video camera. It's just ridiculous to think about. The fact is, see, people always got to cause a problem where none exists. Anyway, let's go back to the phones. All right, let's see here. Just want to be fair looking at the board. Did we get a 2 and 4? Let's get a 2-1-4. 2-1-4, you're on with Doug Hagmann. What's on your mind tonight?
Oh, hi, Doug. This is Jan in Dallas.
Hey, Jan in Dallas.
Hi. Oh, I wanted to thank you for your righteous anger that is so beautifully expressed, to your sense of humor through all this seriousness. And I wanted to mention something. Yesterday would be 3 years ago that Andrew Breitbart died.
Yes.
And I wanted to thank you and Joe for covering that story like you did. And I just think so much of Mr. Breitbart and the people that he has inspired and continue to inspire. And just wanted to mention that to you. And thank you and Joe for doing such a wonderful job for all of us that we cannot do like you can. So thank you.
Jan, thank you so much. And we must remember Andrew Breitbart 3 years ago yesterday. And in fact, Joe and I were talking about this last week, saying, we should do something. We should put something up on Sunday. And things got past us. But Jan, thank you for mentioning this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
God bless you.
And you guys take care.
Is there anything else you want to weigh in on?
Oh, no.
Or are we? Okay.
Just, yeah.
Okay.
You guys take care. Okay.
Thanks. All right, Jan.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Jan in Dallas, what a great lady. What a great caller, Man. Let me turn toward my technical advisor. Do you remember 603? Did I get that area code? Does that ring a bell to you? I got it? Already got it? Are you sure? Because I'd be, See what I got to come up with here. Let's go to 626. Area code 626. You're up with Doug Hagmann. 626.
Hey, Doug. It's John. How are you?
John, how you doing? Hey, let me ask you.
Okay.
Did I hit 603 or not? Never mind.
I think 603 may still be in queue. So what I'll do, Doug, is I'll just keep this really brief. But I punched in because I heard the gentleman express his concerns about the HH Connections project. So I thought I'd just take a quick minute to update the Hagmann family, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay, so today we connected our 400th Hagmann listener. And the project has received, this is an approximation, but we believe we've received about 850 independent responses over the course of 29 days. So we've been blessed with a tremendous response, and we're really excited about getting everybody introduced to one another. The best part, Doug, and I've forwarded a couple of these to you, we're starting to get replies from people who have made new friends, and it's just so gratifying. It's really cool. So what I would suggest to folks who have been really patient with us, and again, we do appreciate your patience. We're seriously working about as fast as we can on this thing. Just go ahead and re-email us with "connect me" in the subject line, and we will get you taken care of just as soon as possible. Our turnaround time has been reduced from 5 to 7 days down to about 3 to 4 days at this time.
Okay. That's good news. I mean the turnaround time, that's great. Because I know, look, it's a labor-intensive deal, isn't it? I mean, it's just...
It's it's. I'll tell you what. It's a labor of love. It is arduous, but the rewards are immense. I'll just say a couple things quickly. First of all, I know a lot of the Hagmann family heard that remarkable story. What was it, about a week ago Friday, regarding Cindy from Florida and her mom. If you folks haven't heard that story, please go back in the archives and listen to the Friday that had was it Dan Goodwin, Doug? Was that the proper name for the guest? Dan Goodwin?
Yep.
So check out that archive, folks, if you want to hear that story. It's in the top of the first hour. And like I said, Doug, the most gratifying aspect of this has been getting the replies from people that we have connected. And each one's different. You know, one lady is going to go have coffee with a new friend, and another lady I heard from a day before yesterday made some friends to attend the Orlando conference with. That's the best part.
Isn't that great? You know, I mean, it's fabulous, and I think that what's coming, we can't face this alone. I mean, and we do our best to. I mean, John, I know you've done your best on this initiative, and we're trying to. We know we can't survive, or it's not going to be pleasant to survive what's coming by ourselves. So, what's the best way to do this? We can't sit on our hands and do nothing. So we've got to figure things out, and this really is good. I mean, this is great. One of these days, are you going to have a map of some kind, maybe kind of like a with pins in it, kind of so?
You know what? That's a great idea. We will create a map. Let's get on top of getting everyone connected that's been part of this initial introductory month here, and then we'll work on that. But that brings to mind one other thing I'd like to share with all the Hagmann family tonight, is that we've heard from all 50 states, with the most responses coming from Texas, and then Florida is number 2. But almost every state has had at least 2 or 3 individual responses check in. And the really cool part is we've heard from 18 different foreign countries, everywhere from the French Pyrenees to Peru, Dubai, United Arab Emirates. We've got about 10 individual responses from the UK. So it's just been fantastic. And you know, when I'm sitting here, I work on it probably about 4 to 5 hours a day. The connection process, there's no easy way to do it. You have to take them one at a time and connect the folks individually. But I just keep thinking about what the Lord can do with each of these connections that Doug, you and I may never be aware of, at least not in this life, you know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well,
I just sent that caller that called in just moments ago and said didn't get a response. He typed in the email H&H Connections. So I sent it to H Connections. I just forwarded it to H Connections. So
perfect. Well, Doug, I want to just say blessings to you. Have a wonderful time in Orlando, and folks, everybody that's checked in with HH Connections at StartMail. Again, that's HH Connections at StartMail. Just be patient. Please be tenacious. Bear with us. The truth of the matter is, to be perfectly transparent with the Hagmann family tonight, you know, we got tidal wave. That's my new Steve Quayleism. We got tidal wave.
Tsunami. That's right. It's amazing. And I, you know, didn't I tell you when you gave out your phone number? I said, you sure you really want to do this?
Yeah, that was. We'll talk about that off there. One more thing I want to say quickly. And I'll say goodnight. I want to say a special greetings and God bless you to my new buddy Jim, who lives in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. He's an incredible man, and he's blessed and anointed by the Lord, and he's facing some serious physical ailments. But just know, Jim, brother, that there's a lot of people praying for you tonight.
Thank you, John. And Jim,
all right.
we'll add you our list as well. God bless, my friend. Thanks, John.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Doug. Good night.
All right, buddy. Well, something, huh? Yeah, boy, this 603 is bugging me. I'm going to have to go back. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can reconnect here. Gee, it's taking longer than usual to reconnect, so I'm not sure. Oh, I see. Wow, I'm frozen up here. Isn't that great? All right. How do I stop this now, right? All right, folks, so live radio. How great is that? Oh, isn't this interesting? All right, folks, hold on just a second here. Apparently, all right. Okay. Live radio, and all you're hearing me say, okay, right? Let me do this. I think my switchboard actually got tanked here. So with that, folks, I'm going to just have to ask that you just hold off on the calls. Yeah, my switchboard got tanked, and I apologize. The hotel room, from which I'm calling the conference area, this breakout room type of situation, apparently the internet connectivity dropped just moments ago, so I have no internet, and having no internet means I've got no ability to talk with anyone, and that's correct. That's why. So, isn't that interesting? All right, appreciate that. Oh, wait. Maybe it might be able to... Okay, I might be able to bring this back up now. All right, we'll just leave it go. Another interesting piece of advice, it's no, you know what, I'm not going to even do that. Sorry, folks. Don't forget Dr. Ken Hovind in prison. Just want to touch on Kent Hovind. His legal name is Kent Hovind, the young Earth creationist. And if you go to Wikipedia, you'll notice he's a conspiracy theorist. He spoken on creation science, and he aimed to convince listeners to reject scientific theories of evolution, geophysics, and cosmology in favor of his interpretation of the Genesis creation narrative from the Bible. If you look at Wikipedia, you can tell pretty much which side they're on. It's not really a factual type of side. It is more of a the science, the religion of this. It's really kind of an earth religion. Well, more than that, of a religion, of the satanic type of religion, shall we say. And I can say that based on the evaluation of just not only Hovind, but if you go back into the Nazi ideology as well and look at the various Nazi ideological type of entries in Wikipedia, you'll see this consistent theme running through this, and this is what's being pushed on the American people. But nonetheless, back to Kent Hovind, that was the core back in 1991 when he spoke on the young Earth creationism at seminars in private schools and churches, where he's saying, look, wait a minute, folks, it's not Darwinism, it's not it's more than that. It's not evolution. It's creationism. Now, one can argue as well too, and understand this. One can say, you talk about the young Earth theory versus the more rational or scientifically acceptable, I shouldn't say rational, scientifically acceptable theory that there was a compression of time, or I'll use that, compression of time, to explain that the young Earth theory, so to speak. It's good that for people to really understand, and homeschoolers know how to teach this very well. And that's one thing I'm very proud of homeschoolers, because they understand the difference between evolution and Darwinism, or evolution and creation. And they understand that evolution is a religion, not just a theory. But this weighs so importantly on the case of Kent Hovind, who has spent 10 years in prison because of his stance on Darwinism, on evolution. Now you can say, well, no, that's not the case. You can say the case is merely his position on or his activities with respect to structuring, or his illegal activities. Wait a second. No. Look back and understand exactly what was taking place during the time Hovind was involved in this, and which what happened to draw the I don't want to say ire, but the interest of the federal government. Well, it was his position, his teachings on creationism. That's the core issue right there. So with that, and I'm getting waved off here, there's a sound guy here from the Hyatt Regency here in beautiful Orlando, Florida. I'm getting waved off that actually the power is going to be cut. It's not a conspiracy. It's just an issue with the it's setting up for the conference. So he's kind of actually passed me a note if I could stop early, and I'm going to do just that to accommodate him working here closely into the late evening hours Eastern time. So in order to accommodate him, I will cut the broadcast early. Now, we're going to be back tomorrow night, full throttle, that's right. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, each and every one of you listening to this broadcast. Thank you for being a part of our lives and being part of this broadcast, being part of the truth movement, being part of the truth itself, being part of our lives. And I mean that sincerely. I really do. And I want to thank publicly as well my wife and what a great help she's been. And what a bear I've been when the garage door, refuses to open, and when everything goes wrong, guys, you know how we are, right? So if you're a guy out there and you've been pretty rough, go give your wife a hug. And if you're a lady and you've been pretty rough, go give your husband a hug. And if you're alone, don't have anybody but maybe a four-legged friend, go give that four-legged friend a hug, and you'll get unconditional love in return. Folks, if you're coming to Orlando, love to see you. Can't wait to see you down here. If you're not, we'll take good care of you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time tonight, or whenever you're listening to this. And from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so very much. Cutting this off short due to the electrical issues. Not a problem. Until tomorrow. God bless and stay safe. Have a good night.